What's up, y'all? This is Marshall Lee of DonkeyJawProjects.com, and this is the 39th episode of the Escape Artist Podcast. Wait, no. I'm so used to saying Escape Artist Podcast. The Early Bird um, Artcast. Oh boy, maybe it's too early for me. But yeah, that's my old podcast, Escape Artist Podcast. You can find um, those old episodes, a lot of them on my YouTube channel, not all of them, but you can also find it at donkeyjawprojects.com/podcast if you're interested. Those are pretty good. There's a lot of good interviews. And then if you go really far back, you're going to hear me chatting about all kinds of similar things that I chat about now, usually driving in my car. So yeah, fun. I'm taking a sip of my coffee. So how you guys doing this morning? It's Friday. It's the Friday before Christmas, and all through the house, everybody's panicking. um, no, but yeah, it's that time of year, and am I taking a break? No. I mean, Christmas Day, I have two family events to go to, so I probably won't have much output that day. But every other day is, I'm sure I'll be on top of working on projects, and I mean, I'll even work on my art that day still. But will I? Most likely, but will I? Do a lot of public things? Probably not. But you know how it goes. Um, so, anyways, something that's kind of interesting is I um, I am getting very close to 1,000 subscribers. Finally, I've been doing this for way too long to not have gotten to 1,000 yet, but I've talked about that before here, and it's my own fault. It's just has to do with you know not always putting YouTube as a priority, which it's not a priority. That making the stuff is a priority. Um, but I know that I could have done certain things to have gotten a little further, I guess. So it is what it is. It's no big deal. Um, so, anyways, um, it's pretty cool though. Like I've been building, lately and getting some more traction, which is really cool. And I really appreciate all the new subscribers, and hopefully you're digging the content that I'm making. And for all my faithful subscribers, you guys are awesome. You're the bread and butter, and you're my friends, in my opinion. Um, and you guys just all rock. So thanks for hanging out with me. Um, so, but it'd be kind of cool. It's been like this kind of soft, not that important, but kind of a fun goal to get to 1,000 before the year ends, and it's getting more possible. There, for a long time I was kind of like, it's kind of a goal, but whatever. Like I probably won't get to it. It's not that big a deal. And I'm still kind of like that. But now I can getting so close. I can taste it. Not like it's like it's I get millionaire now. If I get there, it's just gonna be okay. What's next video? But it's just a fun goal. It's a cool milestone to get to. So, anyways, I'm about somewhere around 40, more or less, subscribers left to. Oh, wrong color. Um, I forgot to choose the right color. I'm going to be doing a video on this technique of coloring that I found that I think is pretty freaking awesome. Pretty soon. Not sure exactly when. Who knows? When I get a chance, basically. um, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be cool to get to 1,000 before the end of the year. It's just a fun goal. So yeah, if you like my stuff and you think it would be cool to see that happen as well, you know, feel free to share some of my content. Like I guess your favorite video that I've made, maybe share that somewhere. Or, I don't know. That would be cool if you guys want to kind of help me get to that fun like milestone or whatever. If not, cool. Like, I mean, we all are busy, so I don't expect anybody to do anything. But I do really appreciate you guys' support, no matter what, and your friendship, especially more than anything. Like I said yesterday in my early bird Artcast, I mean, my audience. I don't even like to call it my audience because it's not like I own you or anything. But the audience that tends to come and watch my stuff, you guys are all awesome, and you're not the type of people who are gonna like, you know, hit me up with like some crazy like controversy and weirdness. So I just really appreciate that because obviously there's a lot of that craziness going on the internet, and who needs that? um, so, anyways, I wanted to talk about. I put out a video last night. If you haven't seen it, it's already getting a lot of traction, and it's really cool. And I don't know. I've been wanting to talk about that topic for a while, and it's the topic of quality versus quantity. And I just wanted to make a little bit of a clarification. I actually have gotten a lot of great response from it, comments and stuff, and you know, most people are um, uh, maybe kind of agreeing with me, but I'm not getting anybody like really against it so much, or like being like saying anything like weird or off or whatever. But sometimes I think maybe in some ways I wasn't 100%, which is typical when I talk. I tend to have a little bit of a hard time um, communicating exactly what I mean sometimes. But the thing is, in no way, shape, or form in that video was I saying, and this is just the clarification, that quality isn't important to me. In fact, that whole video is literally about the fact that quantity is important to me. That's why I want to increase quantity. Because basically the idea behind it is, you know, say there's two people who want to make comics, and they both are at literally the exact same skill level, and they're just starting out, and they both start out at the same time, and one person, this is just like a thought experiment, I guess. One person says, I'm going to comic, um, and I'm just gonna, they both get the same amount of time to do it. Say they get, you know, I don't know. I mean, it takes a long time to make comics, so let's say they get a year. I think that's a good barometer. They get a year to make their comics. Whatever they want to do, they can do, but they got to work on their comics. And one guy says, you know what, I'm gonna spend the whole year making this one, 5-page comic or something, say, or maybe even 10 pages. And they're just like, I'm gonna make this masterpiece. It's gonna blow everybody out of the water. And again, these guys are both or it could be girl, whatever, are at the same skill level. Um, and the other person says, you know what, I'm going to make as many comics as I possibly can. They might be short or whatever, maybe 5-page comics or something. But I'm gonna focus on quantity instead of, I mean, I want to make the best comic I can, but I'm gonna focus on making the most I possibly can. So in that year, you know, the person focusing on quantity makes, I don't know, 3, 10-page comics or 4 or 5, something like that. And say 5, they make 5 10-page comics, Um, and the person focusing on just like quality, like they just want to make that one, the best 10-page comic they can, um, makes one. Who's going to be better? You know, I mean, it would be an interesting experiment, really. I mean, it's kind of hard to do that experiment because how do you gauge? How can you like tell like if two people are at the same skill level or not? That's like almost impossible to like kind of really gauge that because there might be training that they're not considering that they've had in the past. Like, there's just so many factors. I guess you probably still could come to a pretty good situation where you do that. But I don't know. Like, to me, that basically what I'm saying is I'm kind of making this case that I think the person who is going to make more comics is going to get to quality faster than the person who's focused on making one quality comic. That's kind of my thought. So in no way am I saying that quality isn't important. I'm just saying I think the only way to get there is to focus on quantity, or maybe I should say the best way, in my opinion, of course, this is only my opinion, but the best way to get there is to make more comics. So maybe even the way I just explained it wasn't even the best way to explain it. I don't know, but like all I'm saying is that whoever makes more comics, like the more comics you make, the better you're going to be. The more drawings you do in your sketchbook, the better you're going to be. So quality is, in my opinion, or quantity is way more important to focus on. I'm not saying you don't want quality, but it's more important to focus on than quantity. If you make more drawings, you're going to be better at drawing. If you make less drawings, you're not going to be as good, you know? So if you focus on quantity, you're going to get to quality in a better and faster way than if you just focus on making one thing, trying to make it as perfect as you can make it. And that one thing that you make probably will be better than the first few things that the quantity person makes. But eventually, the quantity person is going, in my opinion, to probably surpass the quality person because, um, I don't know. I mean, maybe they're not, but this is just like, to me, and it's almost better to talk about it pertaining to like a sketchbook, because like I just don't want people to think that I don't care about quality. Like, I care about. I'm saying that quality or quantity is better because I care about quality. You know what I mean? Um, and I want, like, I'm actually in a place where I'm slowing down with my quantity. I'm already at a place where I'm putting out kind of a lot of quantity, the best I can. But I'm actually slowing. I talked about it in the video too. That I'm actually wanting to slow down a little bit because I do want um, to spend a little bit more time on details that were kind of lacking. But I don't want to spend too much time worrying about the details because I know myself. Like, I will, if I say, you know what, it doesn't matter, like, however long it takes me to make this thing is how long it's going to take me to make this thing. I will spend, I'll spend forever on. I mean, I proved this to myself last year. This, in some ways, this is kind of a commentary on what happened last year with me. I spent probably the first half, at least more than the first half of the year, working on putting together stories for comics, and I was doing my best to try to like make a good story. Like, that's what's important to me, is having a good story that people relate to, that um you know that just tells, you know, something interesting and heartfelt and just really comes across as a story, as a good story, I should say. But, I didn't really get a lot done. I spent a lot of time world building. I spent a lot of time, um, just working on details that might not even matter in the end, um, kind of getting myself into traps, and I spent a lot of time working on comics, but how productive was it? The last few months, the last like 4 or 5 months, I put this thing together where I'm putting out one comic a month on my Patreon. One little comic story at least a month on my Patreon. And I have learned so much more by producing comics every day or every month than I learned my whole time making comics, you know, so far. I mean, it's like I'm learning things about storytelling because I'm doing it at a quicker pace, that I just wouldn't get to because it would be like me talking about making comics and preparing to make comics for so long, but never actually producing pages on a regular basis. That's kind of the thing I'm getting at, like the fact that I've produced more pages in the last 4 months than I've ever produced like in my life. And I feel like I'm a better artist and creator and writer and comic artist because of it. You know what I mean? So because I've done that, my quality has gotten better. And it's only going to keep getting better from now on. In my opinion, the comics I'm making now are pretty much the best comics I've ever made, you know? Um, and if I get to a point like where I get stuck on a panel or something, and I'm like that'll stop me for sometimes a long time, like a week or a couple weeks, because I'm almost like afraid of that panel. But if I have a deadline, it pushes me to get through that panel and to get on to like three more pages in the same amount of time that I would have been freaking out about that one panel. You know what I mean? Um, so, um, in my opinion, I'm getting better, you know, and, I don't know. I think I've explained this pretty clearly, but I don't know. It's hard to tell. How clear you actually are when you say something. I mean, that's part of like this whole making comics thing in quantity thing too, because you don't really know what you're good at and what you're bad at until you've done a bunch of comics. But you can't ever do a bunch of comics if you're focusing on making your one, you know, master opus, or even just like your first comic takes you, years to make. Like it just, and I'm not trying to criticize anybody. This is me looking at myself and trying to figure out how I can do better comics and do more comics. Um, you know, everybody's at their own pace. Everybody has their own desire and how they want to approach things. And in no way am I saying, well, this, I'm trying to do this because everybody I know is doing it wrong. I'm literally saying this because this is what's helping me to get better for myself. Like I'm competing against myself. Like that, when it all comes down to it, sometimes I kind of feel like there's like a healthy, fun competition between me and my peers and stuff like that. But that's just like, I don't even think about that hardly at all. It's just kind of a funny thing to think about sometimes. But like when it all comes down to it, I'm really competing against myself. That's where the real antagonist is. That's where the real um struggle is, because I can't control what other people do anyways, and I can barely control what I'm doing sometimes, I guess. So I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts on that. I just wanted to like kind of clarify a little bit, if just in case anybody is like thinking I don't care about quality or something. Like, that's so far from what I meant by my video, that it's literally because I care about quality that I'm trying to get quantity out, you know. um because I mean, I went through so much time, you know, in my life, working on these sketchbooks, and I had like three, four, five. I was addicted to like buying sketchbooks, and I saw like the potential, in these sketchbooks, a lot of white pages where you could put some beautiful art. And I would never finish sketchbooks. I literally never finished a sketchbook until about 5, 6, 7 years, maybe like six. I don't know. There's a video on my YouTube channel, where I show my first finished sketchbook. And I've been doing this for all my life, since even nursery school. I remember being addicted to wanting to just do art, um, more than anybody around me when I was younger. And now it's, luckily I found community. But I'm trying to find where the shoe color is. um, I don't remember which layer I put that on, and I didn't label it very well. But now I'm focused on finishing sketchbooks and not even caring that much about, if what's in those sketchbooks is good. My sketchbooks are a place to learn now. They're not a place to make beautiful art. Sometimes I do make some cool art in there, and they end up turning into pieces that I finish. Sometimes, well, a lot of times, like right now, Shecember, I haven't talked about it a lot, but Shecember is still going. And I haven't actually posted. I've been doing some Shecember drawings, but I haven't posted anything for a couple weeks now, because I don't really like what I've been doing, but I've been learning. But the stuff I've been doing isn't stuff I want to show. um, and, you look at somebody like maybe Jason Brubaker, or, Scott Strickland and Jason Brubaker both showed, their, uh, they both showed old comics they made, when they were like a kid and stuff, recently, in one of their videos. And, you know, that the reason why both of them are as good as they are is because when they were young, they were making comics. you know, they didn't even publish those comics, but they made them, and I didn't do as much of that as they did. You know, I did do a lot of sketching and stuff and drawing, but you know, I don't have that many comic pages under my belt, unfortunately, because they were always really daunting to me. And I think it's partially because I focused on quality more than quantity. Like, because I couldn't produce a good page, I got very discouraged. So I didn't make more comics pages, even though that's what I knew I wanted to do since I was a young kid. I didn't have anybody to help me see that you have to make bad comic pages to get to the good ones. I didn't really get that concept yet. And I wish that's if there's anything that I wish I learned when I was younger, that would have helped me. It's literally this lesson. That's why it's important to me. That's why I'm saying that quantity is more important. Not It's not more important to produce more. It's more important to focus on quantity more than quality, so that you can get to those good pieces, so that you can start to get to quality. You're never going to get to quality unless you practice a lot, and so I don't know. That's all I'm saying. So hopefully you guys, hopefully that clarifies things. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Does that make things more clear? Let me check out the chat. James, good morning and early Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, man. Teresa, Merry Christmas. Adam says, glad you're going to clarify. Cool. Um, Adam was confused by the video, apparently. So yeah, man. Uh, yeah, that's the thing I'm sensing because I have like some people. There's like some people saying, well, quality is more important to me. Or they were saying, well, you have to focus on both or something like that. And sometimes I think maybe they didn't listen carefully enough, but it's also, I might not have been clear. So that's fine. I totally get that. But a lot of people did understand what I was saying too. So, I mean, I was somewhat clear. um, there's a lot of truth in the 10,000 hour rule. Right. Exactly. Better means superior quality. You know, um, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, Adam. I mean, yeah, like, I mean, that's true. So, let's see, Teresa. I think I get it. All you are saying is that focusing on making more quantity will generate quality as a byproduct. Exactly. Just because with the extra practice you become better. Yes, yes. Um, Adam says, I think you're comparing pre-production to production, not high quality production to high quantity production. Um, hmm. I mean, that's an interesting way to put it, but I almost hate, I shouldn't say I hate the idea of pre-production, but pre-production is tough for me because it's like, um, I've spent so much time in pre-production to the point where I never, got anything actually accomplished because I'm too worried about certain things. When it comes down to it, I need to get stuff finished and get stuff out. I have to be producing more things, um, because if I focus on producing more pre-production, I personally will get stuck and I will never make a thing. um, and that actually makes me have less ability to make a cool thing. Um, I don't know. That's what I found. Marius, to an extent, like I mentioned in a comment, studies of something specific is about form. For example, not presentation. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about like art studies and stuff, like drawing a ton of hands and trying to learn how hands work, learn the gestures, how to draw hands, the anatomy and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of different, than, making a comic where there's a bunch of hands, doing all that preparatory work of learning how all of the stuff about hands goes into, that's not gonna be your final product. But because you've done that, your hands are gonna look better when you do your comic. So yeah, totally. I get what you mean, and that's like, the difference between it's almost like I have to talk specifically about comics and then specifically about creating, like just drawing, because I'm not like when I'm talking about one, I'm not talking about both necessarily. Um, but the thing is making comics, I have to, no matter what, even if you're going to focus on just making the most quality, no, like only one comic in your most quality comic, you're still going to only have the experience of making that one comic. But if you make more comics, because to me, there's so many, there's so much, things you have to learn about making comics that you can only learn by making comics. Um, you can learn the theory of a lot of these things, but you really don't get it until you've made a lot of comics. So, I mean, eventually, and are you going to just make tons of comics that you're never going to publish? I don't know. To me, I'm not like, I don't know. Like, I don't, I have to me, publishing it is part of the motivation to make it, you know. If I make it, but I don't show anybody, I have a hard time with that personally. Um, Yeah, I would have. I don't have a hard time with that when it comes to sketching in my sketchbook. But as far as making comics, I just have a hard time with putting that much work in it and not sharing it. You know, it's too much. Comics are too much work. And I mean, there are people who've made a lot of comics that they didn't share, you know, like when they were younger and they were kids, but I don't have the time for that. You know, I'm going to be 40 in like a month or two. Um, I don't have time to do that. You know, I'm kind of working out my kinks in public. That's how I am. And I'm okay with that. Like, it doesn't bother me because I think people enjoy seeing the growth, you know, and I enjoy sharing the growth. And I don't really necessarily care. You know, I don't have a big ego about all this stuff, like personally. And you know, it's okay for basically the point. I mean, I guess because if I say I don't have a big ego, then people might think, well, you think I have a big ego. I'm not trying to say that. Like, I just am okay with people seeing my flaws. Like, that's all I'm saying with that specific thing. So Adam says for high quality production, an artist would be spending time including more detail, full backgrounds, better line work, and fixing mistakes and inconsistencies, doing their best work. Yeah, of course. I'm not sure. I feel like you're trying to get to a point that I'm not quite getting, Adam. Um, you know, that's, you know, yeah, you're right about that. I don't know. Oh, okay, so he kind of continues. So, for high quality production, an artist would be spending time including more detail, full backgrounds, better line work, and fixing mistakes and inconsistency, doing their best work. Not more bad drawings than good drawings. Instead, only good drawings. Okay. Um, yeah, I guess. I mean, to me, you know, it takes a lot of bad drawings to get to good drawings, in my opinion. If I was going to focus on my sketchbook and only make sure there's good drawings in there, then I mean, I would stop being an artist tomorrow. Like, and maybe you probably that's not what you mean, I guess. But to me, making a drawing and then continuing to work on it until it's the best drawing it possibly can be, that is something, I don't know, like that's not, I feel like at some point you're gonna, like they talk about the diminishing returns. At some point you're gonna just be like working something to death, and it's actually gonna start getting worse because you're working it too much and you're too worried about the quality. And you know, it's also, I don't know. I mean, we're getting into like some details that you know I just don't. That's not what I meant, you know, by the video. Yeah, I don't know. That's I don't know. I'm starting to kind of get into a spot where I'm not sure. You know, it's kind of hard to get exact clarity on like the minutia of some of this stuff. What I meant by better means superior quality. You said between the guy who made 5 quality pages and the one who did a high quantity, you asked in the end who did better. Oh, okay. So you're answering to that. Better means superior quality. Okay. By definition, it is the 5 qual. No, but see what I'm saying is the person who spent say a whole year trying to make 5 quality pages, they probably won't make as good pages as the last. Eventually the person doing quantity is just going to by default be making better pages because they've made more pages, so they've had more experience and they've gotten better, while the other person just was polishing 5 pages that probably aren't that good, because they both started out at the same skill level. So it takes practice to get better at something. And if you don't practice it, if you don't do many of a certain thing, then you're never going to get to the point where you're doing good stuff. But if you focus on just like, say, when I first started, had the first idea the first day I had the idea to make comics, and I went that day, like I started making a 5-page comic, and if I still continued to try to work on finishing those 5 pages for like a year, 2 years, 3 years, and I still just have been working on those 5 pages, the person who spent those 1, 2, 3, 4 years moving on from the first 5 pages and making more pages is going to be better than the person who just took 5 years to make 5 pages or something like that, if they started out at the same skill level. I don't know. That's hopefully that makes sense. I mean, the more time you spend doesn't necessarily. I don't know. It's getting into like weird minutia that I don't really. All I'm saying is that doing more makes you better at doing that thing that you're doing more of. That's really all I'm saying. Mary says, I think I get it better now. To learn how to make movies, you have to get out and make short films. Learn, produce, then learn, produce. You have to make to improve. Exactly. That's really all I'm saying. So yeah. Hopefully, that makes sense. That's crazy. I feel like I've been talking for like longer, but according to this, I haven't. Oh, I'm just thinking of the time differently. Okay. So anyways, I don't know. I think we're saying the same thing. I think quantity is more important to focus on than quality, because focusing on quality, you may never make a thing, but focusing on quantity, you're going to make things and you're going to get better. But if you focus on quality, you may never get to any kind of quantity. So that's why I say focus on quality is more important. Focus on making more things, and then making those things will get better and better. And I'm not saying that making quantity is better than making quality. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that making quantity gets you to making better quality. And you're focusing on quantity to get to quality. That's what I'm saying. So, with that said, I'm going to kind of leave it there because I don't know. I think I've been as clear. That's as clear as I know how to be, about the topic. And I think I just summed it up in a way that I don't know that I mean. That's what I mean. So I don't know. It just seems like clear to me. So, and if I can't be more clear than that, then then that's just my ability to be clear about stuff. And so, but I do have to get going. I have to go to work, obviously. So, it is true focusing on quality gives you practice, though, because there is that idea of spending time to you make something and then spending time to make it better is actually helpful in learning. So there is that too, but you're still doing quantity at that point because you're doing that same thing over and over and over and over again. So it's still quantity is bringing you to quality, or you're like, reiterating or adjusting things. So you're kind of doing stuff. You're learning what your mistakes are exactly, and you're learning. But then you're going to have to go and try that again sometime. So you're going to have to keep trying it again and again and again, and so that's quality. So you're focusing on quality. I mean that's quantity. So you're focusing on quantity to get to the point where you can do quality work. Um, yeah, exactly. So you're basically saying the same thing as me. I think personally, you just have to make more to get better is the point. So, but again, I'm gonna start running late here actually. So, thanks for watching, guys. This has been a good discussion for sure, and I really do appreciate like the challenging thoughts too, because it helps me to clarify myself better, and it helps me to even understand my point better. And it's always it's never good. It's never bad to kind of um, go back over things and examine what you've said or what you mean by a certain thing and challenge basically yourself in my opinion. So yeah, I don't know. It's been a good discussion, and I really appreciate everybody for chiming in for sure. Absolutely. You know where to find me, donkeyjobprojects.com/comics. You can find my comics and Marshall Lee _DJP. People are saying Merry Christmas and all of that stuff. So Merry Christmas back to you guys. And thank you for watching. And you guys all rock. I will talk to you on the next Early Bird Artcast. I keep wanting to say Escape Artist still. And I have to find that screen so I can close it out. Once again, I'm not prepared with the with the stopping. Okay, I'm stopping now. Later, guys.